Good morning, everyone, or good evening, depending where you're located. We're recording here. My trusty assistant here, Lucas, who's been helping me technically to put these programs together. And I'm thankful to him. I'd like to greet you all. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Salam Alaikum, and wherever greeting you use. Today, we're going to discuss the higher spiritual planes, the planes which are beyond mind and matter. Last week, we discussed the lower planes, the planes that are associated with the body. Everything is within the body, and yet it is not in the body. We are talking about spiritual dimensions, which are within us, but far beyond us, and yet they are reachable and attainable through various spiritual practices. It has always been the quest of humanity to seek self-realization. And from self-realization comes God-realization. The Atma and the Paramatma, the soul and the Supreme Soul. Many names have been given to the nameless, and yet the nameless remains beyond our comprehension, and yet it is something that can be experienced through the grace and help of an adept. A teacher or an adept is needed at every phase of our life, whether it's worldly, academic, or spiritual. We need somebody who's competent to guide us. If it's not already patently obvious to you, I am not a master. I am not an adept. I'm just trying to be a disciple. There's a saying which I used last week. Even the lowly worms, on hearing of the higher regions, aspire to reach them. I'm going to share with you, again, I'll do a quick synopsis of the chart which I shared with you last week. Within the body are various chakras, or ganglionic centers, or psychic centers within the body. These are located at the various centers in the body, the rectum, the generative organ, the navel, the heart center, the throat center, and the Ajna chakra, which is the third eye, or the single eye, which is located between and behind the two eyebrows. From that portal, the soul comes into the body at birth, and it's through that portal that the soul leaves the body at the time of death. It is also the portal through which we ascend and reach the inner astral plane. So from the physical body, we go to the astral world, and we traverse that plane with our astral body. From the astral, we go to the causal region, and we traverse that region with our causal body. And from the supracausal plane, which is called Parbrahm, we work in another body, which is the super subtle body, the supracausal plane. And beyond that are other regions which have been described by various masters, Kabir, Guru Nanak, Tulsi Sahib, Shams Tabriz from the Persian tradition, and many other traditions. So to transcend the limitations of mind, we need to find someone who has actually liberated themselves, and from a liberated adept, we can learn the techniques and find the inner master, and that inner master becomes our guide. I had the good fortune of sitting at the feet of three great saints in my life over the past 57 years. I spent a great deal of time with my guru, Sant Kripal Singh Ji, in India. I spent about 17 months traveling with him throughout the subcontinent, and also some time that was spent in North America with him. the USA and Canada on his 1972 tour. And after Maharaj, who was known as the Gracious Master. And I had the good fortune of spending a lot of time with him as well and having many transcendental experiences. There were several times in my life when special grace was extended to me, not due to any um, virtue of mine, but I was taken up and shown some of these regions and experienced the divine ecstasy that is beyond the ego and beyond the mind. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that. Again, from my discussions with my master Sant Kirpal Singh Ji and also with Sant Darshan Singh Ji, we discussed the inner regions which are beyond the mind. And the reason why we cannot reach those stages or remain there for long is due to the impurities of our mind, due to the worldly desires that we have. And, and it takes a special grace to be able to transcend these limitations and reach that which has no limit, the infinite, the nameless and the formless. These are all attainable for human beings. I once met this beautiful old black man in Los Angeles once, and he just came up to me and he looked at me and he said, "If you don't get to heaven when you're living, how are you going to get there when you die?" So this is a process of dying in life and coming back to life again. We've heard about near-death experiences where people were on an operating table and they clinically died, their heart stopped beating, all function stopped in the body, and they described some of their experiences where they passed through a tunnel, they went through the tunnel, and they found on the other side a beautiful light. And in that state, they felt so blissful, so peaceful, so energized and peaceful. And they had a light that was brighter than the sun, and yet it was not burning. It filled them with a kind of ecstasy, and they did not want to come back to the physical body. But they were sent back because they had some work to do on this side, on the physical side. But they only touched the very frontiers of the spiritual regions. They could not go further because they didn't have a guide to take them into the planes that are beyond mind and matter. Even in the astral plane and the causal plane, where there's great light and there's great symphonies, great music that's playing there, these still have limitations. And the souls that are in those regions are still under the jurisdiction of what's called Kal, or the negative power. The negative power rules the three lower worlds, the physical, the astral, and the causal. And all souls that have not transcended that or haven't come under the protection and guidance of a perfect adept who goes beyond those regions, they're still subject to the wheel of transmigration. It's called Charasi Lok, or the cycle of 8.4 million species of life. So many lifetimes we've been coming to this planet, back to this world in various forms to work out our progress. Now, beyond the causal plane is a region of darkness. It's called the Mahasun. The Mahasun. And it is in that region, that in that Stygian darkness, that souls are sometimes held up for eons until some enlightened soul who goes beyond those regions can appear to them and guide them and pull them through into the higher spiritual regions. So beyond the Mahasun, or this region of darkness, is what is known as the fourth plane. The fourth plane is sometimes called the Banwar Gufa. It is a plane where there's a huge, vast, like a cave that's rotating, out of which is pouring great light of hundreds of thousands of suns. And it's something that's inconceivable. And from this plane is issuing forth the sound of the flute. The soul hears the sound of the sarangi, or this kind of stringed instrument. It's like a violin, and it plays on the soul. And beyond that is the flute. So the flute sound is the sound from the fourth plane. Hearing that sound, the mind is subdued and can no longer bother the aspirant as the soul is making its onward journey. So beyond that, it beholds the gates of Sachkhand, or the realm of truth. Once it reaches the realm of truth, Sachkhand, it is said that the Satpurusha, or the Supreme Being who sits on that throne, is filled with the light of millions and trillions of suns. It's inconceivable, and that at that region is no longer subject to birth and rebirth, death and decay. It is a region of all light, all bliss, all ecstasy. And some of the great saints that have gone even further into that divine region of Sachkhand have described three other stages called Alak, Agam, and Anami. The inconceivable, the nameless, and the formless. That which is beyond name and form. So today I thought I would share the perspective of Guru Nanak, who speaks of five planes in his memorable Japji, the Japji Sahib. It's the key to all of the great Sikh scriptures. Of course, at the time of Guru Nanak, there was no religion called Sikhism. Sikh means one who learns. Chela. It's the Punjabi version of Chela, or disciple. And so I'm going to share with you what Guru Nanak has to say about the five regions. And this is from my favorite book, the Japji, the message of Guru Nanak, translated with commentary by my master, Sant Kapal Singh Ji Maharaj. And it's a book I highly recommend to everyone. So there are five stages which he describes. Dharam Kand, which is the realm of action. Gyan Kand, which is the realm of knowledge. Saram Kand, which is the realm of ecstasy. Karam Kand, which is the realm of grace. And Sachkhand, which is the realm of the true abode of the soul. So I'm not going to try to interpret this. I'll just share it with you and read it. So this is stanza 34. Creating the day and the night, the months and the seasons, the fire, the wind, the water, and the nether regions. Amidst all these, he set up the earth as Dharam Khan, or the arena of action. And he peopled it with creatures of many colors and many forms, creatures of whom there is no count. All are judged according to their deeds, for true is the Lord and immaculate his law. Those acceptable to him are honored in his court, and it is only through his grace that one may gain that distinction. The imperfect are perfected here. O Nanak, it is there that this mystery is revealed. And then the next stanza, 35, he says, thus much of the realm of Dharma. And now Gyan Kand, the realm of knowledge. Countless its elements, air, water, and fire, and countless Krishnas and Sivas, and countless the Brahmas, fashioning various creations of countless forms and countless hues, countless the fields of action, countless the golden mountains, and countless the drus, the meditators meditating therein, countless the Indras, countless the suns and moons, and countless the earthly and stellar regions, countless the Siddhas, the Buddhas, the Naths, and countless the gods and goddesses, countless the Dhanus and the sages, and countless the bejeweled oceans, countless the sources of creation, countless the harmonies, countless those that listen unto them, and countless the devotees of the word, endless and unending, O Nanak, this realm. From the description of Gyan Khand, or the realm of knowledge, Nanak proceeds to describe Saram Khand, or the realm of ecstasy. Here, everything is enchantingly beautiful and marvelously strange, and words are of no consequence. It is here that the soul becomes etherealized by the power of the word, and one gets an insight into the real nature of things. Stanza 36 of the chapter. Divine knowledge illumines all in the realm of knowledge, while divine symphonies play unending music and joy, and bliss reign supreme. Next, the realm of ecstasy, where the word is enrapturing. When we're talking about the word, we're talking about that which was in the beginning, that which was and shall ever be. It's the power that brought all things into creation. Everything created here is marvelously strange and beyond description. Whoever tries to describe the same must repent his folly. Herein the mind, reason, and understanding are etherealized, and self comes to its own and develops the penetration of the gods and sages. And stanza 37, higher still stands Karam Khand, the realm of grace. Here the word is all in all, and nothing else prevails. Here dwell the bravest of the brave, the conquerors of the mind, filled with love divine. Here dwell the devotees with devotion incomparable as Sitas, illumined with beauty ineffable. All hearts filled with God, they live beyond the reach of death and delusion. Here dwell the bhagats and sages drawn from all regions, who rejoice in the true one and live in perpetual bliss. Sachkhand, or the realm of truth, is the seat of the formless one. Here he creates all creation, rejoicing in creating. Here are many regions, heavenly systems, and universes, to count which were to count the countless. Here out of the formless, the heavenly plateau and all else come into form, all destined to move according to his will. He who is blessed with this vision rejoices in its contemplation. But, O Nanak, such is its beauty that to try to describe it is to attempt the impossible. So, that beautiful snapshot, as it were, of these higher planes that are within us. I mean, this is the purpose of our existence, to realize our source, where we came from. You know, earlier I spoke of the beautiful music of the fourth plane, the sound of the flute, about which Maulana Rumi, the great Persian mystic, said, listen to the sound of the flute. Hear its tale of separation. Ever since it was cut from the reed bed, it has been wailing its separation. Oh, He says, I want a heart torn by separation, that I may unfold to such a one the pain of love. For everyone who is left far from his source wishes back the time when he was one with it. So we have been separated from our source for eons and eons. You can call that source by any name you like. But it is the purpose of our human existence to retrace our steps and go back and find that source of perfect peace, perfect bliss, that eternity that exists waiting for us, that source from which we sprang eons and eons ago. We are all gratitude to the saints who have come from time to time to guide the child humanity, the Buddhas, the Christs, the Krishnas, the Nanaks, the Kabirs, and yet they're all one. Just as we are all one, but we're under this veil of illusion that we are separate. If we can find that union, that oasis of bliss that's within us, it will change our life. It will change our life for the better. It will make us more whole human beings. And we will try to align our lives in such a way that we will drive out and eliminate the impurities that occlude or cover our inner vision so that we can see the reality and experience the reality firsthand. My master used to say, feelings, emotions, and inferences are all subject to error. Seeing is above all. And yet if there is something above seeing, it's experiencing. And if there's something above experiencing, it's becoming. So, my friends, I think this is a fitting conclusion to this part of the talk. And if you have any questions, I'd be very happy to try to answer them to the best of my ability. I'll look and see if there are any questions. No questions? I'll give you a minute to post some questions. In the meantime, I'll share another bhajan. Last week I shared Guru Deva Meri Neya, and now I'll share another one. If my old memory can still remember all of the verses, this is a bhajan written by Guru Arjan Dev. Guru Arjan was the fifth guru after Guru Nanak in his line of succession. You know, this world has never been without a master. There always is a master, a living master in this world. And today we have a living master with Sant Rajendra Singh Ji, who is there to connect people to the inner light and the inner sound, if they so desire. And this is something that's given freely. It's not a business. It's not no charge for that. So I'll just share this verse from Guru Arjan. Dhanna sovela dita darshan karana how balehare satguru charana jiya ke tate pritam prabhu mere man jive prabhu nam chitere सच मंत्र तुम्हारा अमृत बानी शीतल पुरख दृष्ट सुजानी सच हुक्म तुम्हारा ताकत निवासी आए न जावे मेरे प्रभु अविनाशी धन सोवेला जित दर्शन करना how balehare Satguru Charana तुम मेहरबाना दास हम दीना नानक साहिब भारपुर लीना. This is a verse that is full of divine love for the Satguru, to the true master who revealed the inner garden of peace, as it were, where coming in contact with that celestial light and celestial melody that's within us, it grants peace and fullness. The heart becomes full, and it's basically a devotional hymn of praise and thanks and grace. I think we've got a question here. I want to be kind to all, and I do feel the pains of the strangers. Even for that matter, my heart goes out to stray animals. But how to be kind in situations where people are bad and unkind to you, besides all your love in those situations? Although I still love them, but my heart does ache, and in that misery I still try to be kind to them in dealings, but in thoughts, in that pain, I have sent that hurt and anger to them, which doesn't make me feel calm. Well, you know, when Jesus was nailed to the cross, he looked out with pity on these people and he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So we should try to emulate that kind of pity and compassion for others. You know, when Guru Arjan was martyred, he was made to sit on a red hot plate, and red hot sand was poured over his head. And he said, Tera bhana mita lage. Oh Lord, thy will is sweet. So if they can put up with such great suffering, can't you put up with a little bit of negativity from some of your friends or relatives? I think you need to move beyond that and practice your meditation. Thank you. How to avoid getting stuck in Mahasun? Well, for those who are initiated by a perfect master, a perfect living master, they don't have to worry about getting stuck in Mahasun, because you always keep your master in front of you, and that radiant form of the master, I'm talking about the inner master, will draw the soul further through those otherwise inaccessible planes, those impenetrable regions. So always try to keep your Guru Dev, your radiant form of your master, within you, in front of you. I spoke once with Master Darshan about this in 1978, and he told me in a very extraordinary account, he described his firsthand experience of rising above the physical, going into the astral plane and the causal, and then crossing the supracausal, and then crossing that Mahasun, that region of darkness. And he said, there I beheld some souls that were very advanced, but they had kind of remained prisoners there for eons and eons. But with the grace of the master, they were the light of the master. They focus on the light of the master, and he takes them through that region of darkness and then into the fourth plane. So it's possible, and it is inevitable that when you are initiated by a perfect Param Sant, you don't have to worry about the region of darkness. In fact, it has happened, the experience of many people is that the master doesn't necessarily have to drag you through each stage of the journey. Sometimes when a supreme grace is shown on a soul, on a meditator, maybe in a reward for their sincerity and their love, they are taken immediately, sometimes up to the third plane or up to the fourth plane, without even going through the intermediary stages. Usually it's step by step on the journey. But if a giant eagle comes and allows you to climb on its back to fly to those higher planes, then you get on board. Yeah, there are many, many examples of that. I remember because I was a representative for Master Kripal from 1967 to till his passing in 1974, and I remember once I conveyed initiation on his behalf. He authorized me to do that, and he had accepted this person for initiation. And she was an indigenous woman. Her name was Jeannie. And I tell you, at time of her initiation, her soul went up to the third plane. And we had difficulty getting her back down to the body. We had to give her a massage and had to, she had gone up. She was in a state of ecstasy and she could not come back voluntarily. So actually, after some time, she did come back. And in the saturation of that experience, she just wept inconsolably, because she didn't want to come back to the physical body. That plane was so high and so beautiful. And that's the third plane. And yet there are two more planes to transcend after that. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So Jyotsna Pandya, dear sir, great sinner like me, we're having whatever little just by Master's physical darshan. Now during these days, meditations are not very enjoyable. Well, when I came to Master Kripal and I met him for the first time in 1967 in India, I had been initiated by him in 1965, and I was longing to meet him for those more than 2 years. After my initiation, I finally met him, and I told him, I said, Master, I had been a great sinner. And he looked at me, he held my hands, and he stroked my hands, looking at me with supreme compassion, and he said, Master is for sinners. Well, so don't think you're anything special by being a sinner, because I think we're all sinners, and we all have our faults, but we're not to get hung up on them. In the physical absence of the Master, sometimes meditation becomes a little bit dull at times, but that's a time for you to do more meditation. Less time on social media, more time in meditation. And I think you will find that you will break through from the darkness into the light, and you will feel the Master's presence with you. You will see the Master's presence in front of you. You will experience that light. You will experience that divine inner music. So, the pangs of separation is a gift. It's a gift from the divine to you, because it helps to cleanse the heart and bring your soul closer to him. When Rumi said, I want a heart, this is God speaking, I want a heart torn by separation, that I may unfold the pain of love. For everyone who is left far from his source wishes back the time when he was one with it. So this longing in our soul, this longing of separation, this anguish that we sometimes feel, is a goad. It's a whip, as it were, to whip us forward on the journey. I knew a guy named, at the ashram in 1967, I knew a guy, his name was Ganga Dutt, and he did a lot of meditation. So I went to him one day and I said, Ganga, tell us about your meditation. And in abject humility, he said, Sahab, I am like a tree without any roots and without any leaves, and I cannot even whip myself up to God. No, he was feeling that stage of and other times we're sitting there and nothing's happening. It seems blank. Well, that's the time to put in more time in meditation so that you can break through, because you never know, that breakthrough of illumination, that breakthrough of realization may be just around the bend. So that's an opportunity to high onward and not give up, to make you stronger. How can we get over past and future thoughts in meditation? I'm a student and I get too many thoughts about past mistakes or future goals while I try to meditate. Brother, that's everybody's problem. There's no one that doesn't have this issue of too many thoughts. But only when the thoughts subside can we experience the inner light. When you focus your concentration, this is Sant Rajendra Singh says, when you concentrate, you experience light. When you lose concentration, you experience darkness. The key is concentration. Now, I have to take a little break and I'll be right back. So Patanjali, who was considered the founder of the yoga system, he said in Sanskrit, Yogish Chit Vrit Nirodha. The yoga means the subsiding of all oscillations in the lake of the mind. So unless our mind is become calm and peaceful, it cannot reflect the light of the Creator. So we need to sit without any disturbance or thoughts, and sometimes it's helpful before you sit for meditation to sing some divine hymn or some bhajan, but not get too involved in singing, otherwise you might not even get to meditating. But singing something or reading something by one of the great saints will help you focus your mind and leave off the outside. So let's sit for meditation now for a few minutes. Let us sit in a calm and peaceful manner. Let there be no tension in any part of the body. I invite you to join me in this little meditation. Please close your eyes. With closed eyes, look into the middle of whatever you see, 8 to 10 inches in front of your eyebrows. You don't turn your eyeballs up in the hopes of finding the third eye. You just look into the middle of whatever you see with closed eyes in front of you. You look into it minutely, penetratingly, and lovingly. When I say lovingly, I said love is the key. Just to be intellectual without love is not desirable. We are beings that are created out of love and created out of light. So if we just take a dry intellectual approach, we won't get very far. When our heart opens inside and we actually feel, some of this kind of this cosmic presence in and around us. So we surrender to that. And as we're looking within, we may see at first a dark veil. And that which sees the dark veil is the inner eye. So with that inner eye, you look minutely and penetratingly into the middle of that. And after some time, you may see a blue sky. You might see a field of light. You may see some colors. You may see pinpoints of light like stars. Or you might see like suns or moons. Now, these are not imaginary lights. These are basically reflections of the light of consciousness. To aid in our practice, to help still the mind from excreting thoughts or secreting thoughts, we need to slow it down. And for that purpose, we've been given a mantra. Those who are initiated. Those who are not initiated may repeat any name of God or the divine that you feel comfortable with. But those who are initiated should repeat the 5 charged names given to you at the time of initiation. Those 5 names are the passwords to the 5 great spiritual planes that we talked about earlier, that Guru Nanak spoke about and Kabir Sahib wrote about, and other masters too. So by repetition, we repeat those names mentally with the tongue of thought. Repeat them slowly at intervals. That helps to focus the mind and collect it at the third eye. Once it's collected there, we start to have ingress into the astral plane. And we begin to see the astral light. In the beginning, the light may be dim. But that light is always there. As we focus and concentrate within, the light begins to get brighter. And we begin to lose awareness or consciousness of our physical body. We begin to experience that we are consciousness itself, not bound by the limitations of body or mind. And if we go deeper and deeper into that light, we will come across an inner sun, a beautiful golden white sun. Focusing on that sun, inner, a full moon. Many past saints and mystics have spoken of that inner moon. By focusing in the center of that inner moon, we break it into pieces. It bursts, and we go through it. And on the other side, we will begin to see the luminous form of the Guru or the Master. That luminous form is like the physical form, except it's composed of fine particles of light, identifiable. And then we test it with the Simran, or the repetition of the charged names. As I said, if you're not initiated, you can repeat any name of the divine. But you won't be able to go beyond this point. But those who are initiated can go beyond this point. And after focusing within, after some time, that light begins to resonate. It starts to issue forth celestial melody, which in the beginning assumes the form of ringing bells. And later on, it will go to higher sounds, the sounds of drums and thunder. Later on, more melodic tones, the violins and flutes, and beyond that, bagpipe. Wonderful are the melodies that are heard within. Wonderful and soothing is the inner light. These realms are filled with love and peace and joy. But the mind prevents us, and the impurities of our inner being prevent us from experiencing it fully. So the pain of separation that we sometimes feel is the medium of washing our soul. It is said in Hindi, Guru dhobi shish kapara saban sajanhar, that the Guru is the washerman, and he uses the soap of the holy name, with the Naam. As we go deeper and deeper, we begin to transcend the limits of ourself and our ego. We'll begin to feel a oneness with all creation. A love that is divine. says, those who have communed with the Nam, their toil shall end, and their faces shall flame with glory. Not only will they attain salvation, O Nanak, but countless others shall find freedom with them. Thank you for your patient listening. Look forward to connecting with you again next week.